You've seen in Tahrir Square in Cairo, Egypt today. Tens of thousands once again gathered in protest. They want the interim government to put reforms in place now. And the protesters vowed to remain in the square until their demands are met. Our Fred Pleitgen is live in Cairo for us for today's Globe Trekking. Fred, we have seen these protests before. We have seen vocal and violent before in that square. But so far, just vocal?
Just vocal at this point in time, TJ. It's tens of thousands who are actually still in Tahrir Square, and they've been there since the pretty early morning hours this morning. And one of the things, of course, that we have to keep in mind is that Egypt is, of course, one of America's most important allies here in this region. So certainly the U.S. is going to be looking very closely at what happens here in Egypt. And you said it, the people here are very unhappy with what their interim government has been doing since Hosni Mubarak lost power here more than 5 months ago. They say basically their big concern is that the ways of the old Mubarak government are still continuing. They say there's still police corruption, there's still police brutality, there's still general corruption, the economy is going nowhere, and the unemployment rate is very high. Now, one of the things, TJ, that we have to keep in mind is that right now there's a military council that's governing this country, and a lot of people who are on that military council were very, very close to Hosni Mubarak. And many people who are down there right now, they say they were too close to Hosni Mubarak. They're not doing enough to bring the cronies under Mubarak's regime to trial. And one of the interesting things that one person who's down there told me, he said, the military council seems to a couple of reforms will appease us, but we want revolution, TJ.
Fred, does the crowd down there, a lot of familiar faces, if you will. We know that the last time we saw protests, a lot of young people were leading the charge there. Are you seeing that once again?
Yes, absolutely. It's still a lot of young people who are leading the charge. A lot of these protests still being organized via Facebook and Twitter. The groups are essentially the same, and that's what's giving this a lot of momentum, as well as allowing these people to organize it as well. So yes, it is still essentially a lot of the same people who are doing it. It's not quite the numbers that you would have seen before. Of course, a lot of people here in this country have also gone into something that you might call revolution fatigue, where they say they've had enough of these demonstrations and want to try to carry on and rebuild. But a lot of these people say, now that we're through with this revolution, and especially in light of the fact that a lot of people were killed in that process, in the revolution 5 months ago, we have to see these things through. We have to have all of our demands met, and that's why they're out there right now, and that's why they vow to stay out there for as long as it takes, TJ.
And one last thing to you, Fred. Is there any movement on them getting their demands met? I mean, is there a representative from the folks who are the thousands who are down there in Tahrir Square who are going and meeting with those members of the government? I mean, how are they going about getting their message across? Certainly with the protests, but how are they going about getting at the table and having chats with the government?
That's a very good question, and certainly one that a lot of people here are asking as well. And what you'll see before protests like this one, large protests, are announced, is that the military council that governs this country currently, they'll make some concessions. Like, for instance, before this very big protest, they said, yes, we'll put some people who are part of Mubarak's old regime, we'll put them on trial very quickly. Up a fund for the people who were killed in the uprising. So they try to make little concessions. However, the people here say that's not enough. They say that they want more. They want the military council to put through more reforms than that. There are meetings that happen very frequently, actually, but still the people say they're not quite getting through to the military leadership. They want elections as fast as possible, and they want deep reforms implemented as fast as possible. And that's a point they feel so far they've not been able to get through in their face-to-face meetings with the people who are currently running this country. So now they're taking to the street once again.
All right, Frederick Pleitgen, appreciate you as always once again in Cairo. Thank you so much. Well, as we were about